Good morning and welcome to our first daily devotional of 2021. I hope you're excited to be here. This winter season, we're going to be looking at the ties that bind us, or the stories that bring us together as a community of faith. And in these daily devotions, we're going to be reading through the Old Testament book, Ruth, for the first little bit of this. And so this is the beginning of Ruth's story. During the days when the judges ruled, there was a famine in the land. A man with his wife and 2 sons went from Bethlehem of Judah to dwell in the territory of Moab. The name of that man was Elimelech. The name of his wife was Naomi, and the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judah. They entered the territory of Moab and settled there. But Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. Then only she was left along with her 2 sons. They took wives for themselves, Moabite women. The name of the first was Orpah, and the name of the second was Ruth, and they lived there for about 10 years. Now it's an interesting story. Ruth is such an interesting story. So famines were very common in the Middle East, in Israel at the time. They didn't have storage systems like we do in the same way that we do. They had sort of granaries where they could keep a little bit by, but they couldn't package and process and keep food for ages. So you had to live on what you could make every year. And so it was pretty common for people to experience famine. We hear the stories all the time. That's how Joseph's brothers met him back in Egypt, because there was a famine and they had to go to Egypt to get food. And so Elimelech and Naomi make a choice, which is to move to where the food is, sort of a semi-nomadic culture. And when they do, they settle there and they raise their children there, and their children become locals. And so Naomi and Elimelech would always be immigrants to the land, but their children, their 2 sons, would be natives essentially to this place. And they do what people do, which is to marry women who are around, who are present, who are there. And so they marry Orpah and they marry Ruth. And they lived there together, married for 10 years. That's a long time. If you think about the fact that their average lifespan was 35, 40 years, 10 years of marriage is a significant time. Now, they don't have any children, which is interesting, it seems. They don't tell us of any children. But what it does tell us is that the tie that they had to this place, to Moab, was deep. Ruth and Orpah, this was their home. It was a place Naomi had gone to, had traveled to, had chosen to live in. But she had lived there long enough for it to become her home as well. And it's important because that place is valuable. The places that we live, the communities that we live in, are important and valuable to us. And it tells us that wherever we are, whatever situation we find ourselves in, we should invest ourselves in that place. We should become involved in our community, even if it's not our community, the one that we would call our own by name or by generation. Naomi makes it her home. Elimelech makes it her home and makes the best of a bad situation. Maybe we could learn a little bit from them today.